I lost my own mom when I was only 9 years old. Growing up without a mom was and still is very difficult. And so I always wanted to be able to pass on that love and that nurturing that I didn't get from my own mother onto a child and children. My husband and I knew we wanted children, and we thought, okay, it's time to start our family. It never occurred to me that I wasn't going to be able to conceive. And so month after month, it was just that disappointment of, I'm not pregnant. There was no medical reason as to why I wasn't conceiving. And it was just this really painful, difficult time. I felt very alone. The enemy would creep in and start convincing me that I wasn't worthy of becoming a mom. And so it was just this really difficult time of this turmoil within my faith. I've now had this miscarriage. We've had failed infertility treatments. And so we had friends who encouraged us to go the adoption route. And adoption is a wonderful thing, and we always knew that there were kids out there that needed good homes. Adoption's not always an easy process, but we did get in touch with an adoption attorney, and we were actually on his list for quite a long time. And for us, we would have situations where they would present themselves, and then for whatever reason, it wouldn't pan out. The desire to become a mom never went away. I would pray, is this the thorn in my side, just like you had given Paul the thorn? And is this going to keep me dependent on you? I had come home from work one night, and the phone rang, and I looked at it, and it was actually our adoption attorney. And I thought, why is he calling? And turns out he let us know that there was this baby boy that was born in Apple Valley. He was a Chinese baby boy born at 26 weeks premature, weighing only 2 pounds. And he's being given up for adoption. Are we interested? I had the opportunity to drive up to Apple Valley to meet this newly born baby boy. And when I walked in, he was hooked up to all these wires, hooked up to oxygen, could barely breathe. He was literally fighting for his life. And he was so tiny, he was roughly the size of my hand. So they brought me into the room, and the respiratory therapists had been trying to get his oxygenation levels up to a certain number. And they were struggling. They were kind of at a low point. And as I stood there at the bedside, one of the nurses took my hand and placed it on his chest. And as soon as I placed my hand on his chest, his oxygen numbers shot right up. And the nurses stood there in disbelief, and the doctor and the respiratory therapists with tears in their eyes. And the respiratory therapist looked at me and he said, "You are meant to be this child's mother." And my husband was out of town, and so I sent my husband a picture of this little baby boy, and he said, "Oh my gosh, he is so precious. All he now needs is for you and I to love him." One of my life verses is Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you." Because even in the midst of this journey where I was at the lowest points and I was so down and depressed and I felt like God had turned his back on me, I was always reminded of this scripture that he always had a plan for me. He is there even when we don't see him and even when we don't recognize him. He's still gonna love us today, he's gonna love us tomorrow, and he's gonna love us forever, and he's not going to turn his back on us. That is part of the encouragement that I receive daily, that I remind myself how faithful God was, and he continues to be faithful as he gives me the energy each day and equips me to be a mom, because I certainly cannot do it on my own. And so he's right there by my side as I am this mom to this very energetic, playful little boy.